Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season premiere of Harley Quinn. A great season premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So I love that we're picking up with Harley and Ivy's honeymoon. Obviously that inside joke of like, wow, it's only been 2 weeks. It feels like it's been so much longer. It's like, and also they're at the Fortress of Solitude where Jor-El is looking at them. And he's the one that gave them the name Horror of Ivy. And they're like, ooh. And he was like, yeah, it sounded better written out. It looked better written out than, this is my first time saying it. Because Ivy's like, why not just Hyvy? But Horror Ivy ends up catching on. But I also love that they're sitting there watching a porn parody of their relationship, which I'm like, that's weird and super meta. But I mean, okay. Taking off in the invisible jet. And they're just kind of, was it like the Eat, Bang, Kill tour. And they're just going around causing mayhem. But you can also tell, like, it's that complicated thing about any good relationship, that there needs to be compromise. And Harley's all about doing her thing, which Ivy was in for it too. But I think she's not as gung-ho about it to some extent the way Harley is. Because Harley was kind of enjoying it. And, just I think for Ivy, she kind of wanted to take things, probably like a step back. I also love that inside, what was it, Superman was like, wait, did you sign up for HBO Max? I'd already used my free trial. I was like, shut up with your inside jokes. Because it's funny because, like, literally The Boys had that in their first episode. Butcher is using Amazon Prime in the first episode. I'm like, God, what's the word I'm looking for? The nepotism is real, I guess is kind of what I'm trying to say. Just like, do you really have to do that? But to be fair, they made DC Universe jokes back when the show was also on DC Universe. So I mean, it's not like it's out of the realm of possibilities for the show. But I love that they did. I love the super meta jokes. Even later on when they run into Amanda Waller, and I love that Harley doesn't recognize her. Because she's like, oh yeah, sometimes I know the names but not the faces. We need to kind of get like a yearbook or something. Because she's like, yeah, because sometimes I'll remember the faces but not the names. I wonder what characters does she know face-wise but might not know name-wise. But it's like, I love that it's like, oh, I've got my own little squad. And she kind of gives the Suicide Squad spiel. And the moment she's saying the squad, I was like, wait. The squad that she's talking about that's going to come and rescue him, like, that's the squad, that's most, not all of them, but that's most of the squad from most of the people involved in the first James Gunn, the first Suicide Squad movie. I was like, that's so meta. Just because the only people they're missing is Rick Flag, was it Diablo? Oh God, Adam Beach's character. I'm blanking on his name. I think they're the only ones missing, like, that were involved in that movie. I thought that was so interesting. And then later on, Plastic's like, oh, I'm here because the PR has, like, the A-team dealing with overthrowing a dictator in Central America. And I'm like, which is the... Obviously, details are a little different, but it's like, that's essentially the Suicide Squad, James Gunn Suicide Squad. So I'm like, oh, you and your meta jokes, I love it. Which, obviously, James Gunn is in this episode. I only found out, like, a couple episodes ago that a little while ago that he was going to be, because apparently Zack Snyder's going to be in Teen Titans Go, I believe. But to be fair, it's like, yeah, because I like that DC is meta. I mean, obviously, on the more animated front, this and Teen Titans Go, like, go wild and bizarre, right? Because at least in Teen Titans Go, the Titans met their respective voice actors. So it's kind of almost that same level. And I love that Clayface is auditioning for a Thomas Wayne biopic, which I'm like, oh, how's Bruce feel about a biopic about his dad? I mean, it's like... Because I like that DC from time to time, not just in their animated stuff, but even like some of their live action stuff, sometimes leans into like the commercialization of all that stuff. Like, obviously Shazam leans into like the commercialization of like some of the superhero stuff in that universe. Some of the Arrowverse TV shows, like there's like toys and stuff, and obviously like some shows there are comics and stuff. So it's like, it's interesting to know, like, of course in this universe there'd be a biopic about Thomas Wayne. It's like, that's gotta suck for Bruce. They even, like, replicate it, too, because, like, obviously everything in Gotham is going to shit. There's, like, there's the ghost problem, kids running around in bikes, driving buses. the rat problems, which when all that stuff collides, you have a rat, his parents are dead in front of him, killed by a bus, and he's crying, and his rat butler is over him. I'm like, are they doing a rat version of Batman? You know, the fact that they're setting that up means that has to be a through line throughout the season. If it's not, it's a crime. It needs to be a through line the entire season that, like, there's a rat, which obviously just also because James Gunn is in this too, you can't help but think like, well, there was also Ratcatcher 2 in the Suicide Squad. Is there a correlation there? No, but I can't help but think of that because of that. But like, I hope we get to see like Rat Batman over the course of this season, like just little bits every once in a while, just checking in on him from time to time. I hope we get to see that. But in Gotham, I do love that. Gordon is running for mayor against the mayor, but everyone's kind of blaming him for everything that's going wrong in the city. He's like, yeah, how is that kind of all my fault? This city was already kind of a shit stain to begin with. And he's like, oh, like, he's like, I'll take down Poison Ivy and, Harley Quinn, and that way you guys will all see, like, you'll kind of come crawling back to me, then you'll accept me as mayor. Once I've captured them, I'll do whatever it takes to get them in the end. And I love that his manager, his campaign manager is Two-Face. And obviously everything blows up in their face when Harley and Ivy break in to rescue Clayface and King Shark from Arkham. It might not have even been Arkham. It might have just been them locked up. I think it might have been Arkham. But and I love that they're porn star, the porn star parody porn stars are. God, I said that weird. The porn stars from the porn parodies show up, and I love the cops were like, "Oh my god, I loved you in Drilling Joke," and they kind of got embarrassed to GCPD because like a lot of them ended up taking photos with them, and it's like, yeah, you got the badge on and everything, kind of doesn't look good for the GCPD. So Two-Face switched over and started working for the mayor, and he was like, yeah, it kind of is in my name, and he's like, Harvey Dent. No, what's my moniker? And then, like, it took Gordon a while. He was like, oh, I still don't get it. It's like, oh, Gordon, you lovable idiot. And then he's like, yeah, you can have the mayorship. And then everything went wrong. And then, like, the mayor ended up getting a poll right through him. He's like, hey, you know, and Two-Face talking about how poetic that was. That was a Final Destination ass kill that just like killed the mayor. So it's like, hey, I guess things kind of go Gordon's way. I guess now he inadvertently wins, not unless someone miraculously comes out of nowhere. They did make a point that it's like, oh, this is his 7th time running. I'm like, that's not good. That's unchecked power. Because I'm like, I actually don't know what the term length is for a mayor. Like, obviously, presidents can only be president for 2 terms, but I don't know at max. So I don't know what... It's always interesting, like, what positions you can apparently be in for life, like Supreme Court, or, you know, other times just being limited in your power. That's fascinating. But the fact is they said 7, so I'm like, that sounds super wrong and super corrupt that you've been mayor that wrong. I guess no one ever ran against him because, like, no one wants to deal with the batshit craziness that is Gotham. Or maybe he's just, you know, just taking out any competition. Either way, we'll see if anyone rises up to kind of take on Gordon or not. But I love the whole thing with Harley and Ivy. It is this very... What is it? It is, you know, the honeymoon stage of the relationship. Once again, it's only been like... Well, as the episode progresses, the furthest we get in the relationship, it's 19 days. That... Obviously, Harley wants to do everything she can because she's never been, like, this madly in love with someone, and she's giving, like, Ivy, like, everything that she can. It's like, oh, yeah, I also kidnap the queen and everything. And it's like, oh, don't worry, I threw her out with an invisible parachute. And it's like, I'm not even going to really ask about that. And Harley's surprise for Ivy as an anniversary thing was to take her to this because she was trying to terraform the planet with prehistoric plants, and it was kind of a failure. It didn't work out, but Harley bringing her back here made her kind of go like, you know what, I am going to give it another shot, because Harley believed in her. Harley just wanted to make her happy, but it kind of goes against what Harley wants to do, kind of steal stuff, bust faces, kick people in the dick. And but Harley can never bring herself to admit that to Ivy because she wanted to be like, right, no, I want to do what makes you happy, but that's the thing. Relationships are all about compromise, making sure everybody gets what they want, Because even Ivy was like, yeah, we don't have to be around each other all the time. But Harley's like, no, we do. Because, we don't know if... I'm trying to think in retrospect, like, other than the Joker, has she ever... Like, she's never had a healthy relationship, so she probably still carries a lot of, like... her own, obviously, insecurities when it came to a lot of, like, the lead up to her and Ivy's relationship. So a lot of her worries and insecurities there, plus probably just natural insecurities that are still probably a hangover from her relationship with the Joker, probably makes her go, like, no, we have to be together all the time, because, like, if we are apart for too long, like, maybe that spark between us will fizzle away, and she's worried about that, Because Ivy was the one that was kind of hung up on them entering a relationship, and maybe Harley's worried that, like, right, if I'm not in your face, if we're not together all the time, if I'm not showering you with gifts and love and attention, that maybe you might change your mind again. Maybe there's some level of fear on Harley's part because of that as well, so... I also, circling really quickly to the Clayface thing really quickly, I think that's so interesting that he stammers and messes up in, like, auditions and stuff. To be fair, like, you hear from actors all the time, like, how a lot of people don't like, some people like the auditioning process, others don't, but the fact is that it's like, because I don't know if they're going, because my understanding is I guess it also depends on the continuity, but at least I want to say one of the Lego games referred to his backstory as, like, he was an actor. Like, I think that obviously bleeds over into, like, him as Clayface, but yeah, he's in, obviously, once again, that's not across, I think, every Batman continuity, but it's like, I guess it was never like, never was kind of claimed to be a great actor. Maybe he was. But also, it's like, you did the whole Stephanie thing at college, but I guess it's like, right, when you're doing it for a big time, and like, everyone wants to be an extra in a $1 billion franchise. It's like, yeah. Like, I don't know what the residuals are like for an extra in that regard, He's like, I need this because if I don't, I'll lose my SAG card and insurance and all the access to all the screeners. He's like, what else am I going to keep my food warm in? And it's like a WB, like, a box set or something that he keeps his leftovers in, as he said. And I love that he's like, he's just happy being James Gunn's literal director chair. And it's like, yeah, I can be more comfortable for you. And it's like, a win is a win. And, which I think that maybe that's going to be like a commentary on how, like, right, people are willing to do anything, to get their first steps into the business in any shape or form. Like, has he done any acting professionally? I don't remember that's ever come up. Obviously, we know all the little things that he's done over the course of the show, but I'm like, has he ever done anything like professional? He had to have, because he's got a SAG card and everything, so he's part of SAG, so he has to have. Maybe he's mentioned that early on, I'm just not remembering. But I love what started all this, like, what kind of, like, led to the fallout at the end of the episode is simply Harley got mad that someone's talking shit about her woman. It's like, nobody's going to get away talking shit about my woman, who's the greatest person ever, straight saying, like, she hasn't done enough evil. And I'm like, that's also like, what are you talking about? Have you not seen, I guess it's like, because they accidentally went more hero-ish, I guess, last season than they did, because they went around taking down all the other bad guys and stopping the dark side thing from happening, and I guess she hasn't really done anything villain-esque. So, I don't know. I was like, they've done plenty of killing and stuff like that on their little, like, their tour for the past, like, couple days. And I'm like, does that not count? But I guess it's nothing super villainy. So that's why, like, Waller's just kind of like, yeah, do whatever you want to. It's like, man, I wonder if we're going to get a lot of the Wall this season or not. We'll see if she managed to escape from them, but who's to say, like, whether she's even going to bother coming after Harley or Ivy again. Poor Ivy, though, like, her entire, like, prehistoric Isle, Eden, as she puts it, like, yeah, she's like, M with an I for Ivy. It's like, well, yeah, the name's not great, but the idea is great. Sadly, it's all kind of burned to the ground. She's like, I knew it was a failure, but Harley's like, no, we'll make it come true, and we'll work together. Harley and Poison Ivy taking over the fucking world. And it's like, hey! So that's our main through line. I guess that's the main overarching story this season, is going to be Batman. But now that they are an official couple, they probably are going to have their ups and downs. Once again, I'm curious if her relationship with Joker was like her only other relationship. She doesn't really have much experience on the relationship front. So maybe there will be a growing opportunity for her to kind of learn more about herself, because relationships can teach you not only about you, like, you inside of a relationship, but obviously give you more context on yourself outside of a relationship of like, okay, like how you maneuver and how you do compromise. It's like, right, it's a give and take with a relationship. So how Harley handles that going forward. I just feel like hopefully, I get it because it's not going to be all sunshine and roses. There's going to be a bumpy road involved. But I think that's so interesting that like the squad isn't back together yet. So because obviously we don't know he's kicking it with Clayface, but we don't know if King Shark has anything planned of his own. Will they eventually? Because I think I watched the teaser. I don't think I ever watched the full trailer for this season of Harley Quinn. So I don't really know if they're going to be separated for a good chunk of time, or are they going to be together for like most of the season, like how that's all going to play out. It does seem like something I do know is that Psycho will be in this season, but he's going to be playing a new role or something. And I'm like, that's fascinating, because I was about to say like, because at least based on like at least the teaser trailer, I don't know if it was different in the trailer. I don't want to know, but I did not see Psycho at all, so I kind of was thinking like he might not be in this season at all, but it seems like he is, but maybe he's going to be in a smaller capacity, fulfilling a different role, whatever the case that might be. But I'm really interested to see where the rest of the season takes us. Obviously, there's 2 more episodes, so get to enjoy some more Harley Quinn-esque shenanigans as we continue into the other episodes after this. But I'm really excited to see what happens next. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.